Alright, we're taking a look at some DVR footage from the Skyzone Sky04Xs today, using whatever they're calling their built-in module, just to get a good idea of what kind of reception you guys can expect from it. Right here, we're just kind of hovering close to my face, so you can see I'm using one of those Pyro Drone Pyro patches, so it's like a linear antenna array. And to start off, I immediately go and fly pretty much directly behind myself and behind some concrete here. So honestly, we still have some pretty good reception. Even behind this big old dirt hill that I'm looking at now, it starts to get loose color here and get a little staticky, but it's still very flyable. You can see those big dirt mounds that I was behind, as well as this big concrete wall. And I wasn't even pointing the patch antennas on my goggles the right direction, so the fact that we still have pretty good reception from all that is a good sign to me. I think they're a fair amount better than the modules that come in the O2Cs, which is really all I have to compare them to. You can see again I'm making about the same loop here, coming back around behind that same hill. I'm flying pretty low to the ground here though, and it's a fair amount of static, but you still have color in the goggles. With how wide the FOV is, the field of view, you really have a pretty good perception of where you're at, even when you're flying through some static like that. And again, that's behind this big dirt hill here and some concrete, so with the patch antennas basically pointed in the opposite direction. So I feel like if I was facing toward it, it probably would have been even better. Now, in comparison to the HCO2s, I've only ever used my friends very briefly. I didn't actually fly with them, I just put them on. Looked through him when he had his drone turned on. From the best that I can remember, I think they're very similar in quality. I've never actually used the Orcas, but knowing all three of these goggles use the same OLED panels, I'd imagine they're all very similar. I will say I feel like the build quality on the Skyzones, again, is slightly higher than the Fat Sharks. The Orcas are probably as good, if not better, than the Skyzones, and the Orcas have features that neither the Skyzone or the Fat Shark have. But it's $150 extra and doesn't include a receiver module. So that was my main factor in deciding to choose these goggles over the HGO2s or the Orcas. Now, my initial plan was to use these with Fat Shark sharkbyte system and hope that as that system progresses, it's more comparable to DJI's system in quality, and with the higher resolution panels and the fact that there are OLEDs in these goggles, you may experience a slightly clearer picture than with the DJI goggles. At this point, I don't see that being the case, just because the picture that DJI can transmit is just that much better than even sharkbyte. But for those that still want to race and still want the consistent, fairly low latency, I think these goggles with the sharkbyte system are a good way to go, and then you still have the built-in analog receiver just from the factory. And just to give you a quick glimpse into the goggle, so hopefully you can get an idea of the FOV you can expect. This is using my Samsung Note 10 to shoot this. So again, hopefully you can kind of see about the field of view you can expect looking at this.